Welcome to episode 434 of the Real Estate Sessions. This week, we analyze the fourth blog post from my cancer journey in 2012-2013. I called this post Chemo and Caffeine, a true story. If you or someone you know is battling colon cancer, I hope you find value in this episode.
Welcome to this deep dive. I want you to just imagine, for a second, starting a really aggressive round of chemotherapy.
Oh, man. That's heavy right out of the gate.
Right, it is. But imagine you get handed this massive list of agonizing side effects to watch out for. And then sure enough, you get this blinding 7-day headache.
Yeah, and naturally, you're going to blame the highly toxic cancer drugs. I mean, who wouldn't?
Exactly. But what if the actual culprit isn't the medicine at all? What if it's the sudden, completely accidental disappearance of your favorite diet soda?
It sounds like a joke, honestly, but it's actually a very real, incredibly intense biological collision. You know, we often think of medical treatment as this precise, isolated event.
Right, like a surgical strike.
Right, but our bodies are actually these complex ecosystems, and they're entirely built on our mundane daily habits.
Which brings us directly to our mission for today's deep dive. We are exploring a deeply personal and honestly surprisingly funny piece of writing from Bill Risser.
Oh, yeah, Bill is fantastic.
Yeah, he really is. You listening might know him as the creator of the Real Estate Sessions. But today, we're actually looking at a blog post from his journey with stage 3 colon cancer back in 2012 and 2013.
Specifically, part 4 of his series, right?
Yes, part 4. It's titled The Cold Caffeine Crisis and Other Infusion Center Tales. And our goal today is to uncover how these really intense medical regimens clash with our daily routines.
And also to highlight the profound resilience and the humor that people somehow manage to find right in the middle of a cancer ward.
Absolutely. Okay, let's unpack this, because we really need to establish the physical stakes first by looking at the immediate aftermath of Bill's very first chemo session.
Right, because that sets the whole stage. Bill's writing is so phenomenal here because he doesn't just hand you a medical chart.
No, not at all.
He gives you the actual lived experience. He maps out what it genuinely feels like to be the patient navigating all these unseen traps.
So he goes in, he gets his first treatment, and the oncology staff warns him about this really daunting list of potential side effects.
Which is standard, but still terrifying.
Oh, totally. They tell him to watch out for fatigue, muscle aches, nausea, neuropathy, and the rather ironic combination of both constipation and diarrhea.
When you get a list like that, I mean, you are essentially just bracing for impact.
Yeah, you're just waiting for the shoe to drop.
Exactly. The staff is basically telling you, look, we are introducing a powerful toxin into your body to kill this cancer, and there is going to be collateral damage.
And man, the collateral damage hits hard. Right after that first session, Bill is just extremely tired. He's dealing with nausea, and he is battling an absolute killer headache.
Which, again, is fully expected in those first couple of days.
Right. The staff gave him some medication for the nausea, which helped take the edge off. And based on his conversations with his doctors and, fellow colon cancer patients, he fully expected the acute symptoms to only last maybe a day or two.
Because that is the standard timeline they give you. The chemicals do their most aggressive work in the first 48 hours. You feel awful, and then you're supposed to slowly rebound.
Just in time for the next session.
Sadly, yes.
But his reality did not match that timeline at all. He writes that 7 days later, a full week after his treatment, he still isn't feeling right.
A whole week. That is a long time to just endure that kind of pain.
It is. The fatigue is just dragging, and that killer headache is completely unrelenting. Now, I have to push back on Bill's reaction here because this part really jumps out at me.
Oh, what do you mean?
Think about it. If my computer crashes right after I install some massive new software update, I'm going to blame the update.
Sure, cause and effect.
Right. So I completely get the instinct to blame the chemo.
Yeah.
But if the medical experts explicitly tell you that you should bounce back in 2 days, why suffer in silence for a week?
That's a really good point.
Why did Bill just accept feeling terrible for 7 straight days without, raising a massive red flag with his doctor?
What's fascinating here is how the sheer volume of expected side effects creates a sort of psychological smoke grenade.
A smoke grenade.
Yeah. When you're handed this huge list of severe symptoms, your internal baseline for what constitutes an actual emergency completely shifts.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
The chemotherapy throws up so much smoke that you literally can't see the actual fire burning right next to it.
So you expect to feel like a complete wreck, so you just accept being a wreck.
Precisely. The medical context completely overrides your normal internal alarms. I mean, think about it. If Bill had a 7-day killer headache on a random Tuesday, a year before his diagnosis...
Oh, you would have rushed straight to the emergency room.
Exactly. But because he was in cancer treatment, he endured this completely unrelated, agonizing pain because he mistakenly attributed it to the drugs.
The chemo just acted as a decoy.
It did. It masked the real problem.
And what was actually going wrong behind that smoke grenade is just mind-blowing to me. Because the mystery of this 7-day headache is solved by looking away from the oncology ward entirely.
Right. You have to look inside his refrigerator.
Yes. Here's where it gets really interesting. Because before his diagnosis, Bill had a major habit.
Oh, it was a massive habit.
He was drinking nearly a gallon of diet soda every single day. And he had maintained this routine for, like, a couple of decades.
Let's actually quantify that for everyone listening right now. A gallon of diet soda translates to roughly 800 milligrams of caffeine.
Wow.
Coursing through his system every single day. I mean, think about your own morning routine. A standard cup of coffee has maybe 95 milligrams.
So Bill was basically consuming the equivalent of 8 or 9 cups of coffee a day.
Steadily. For 20 years. His blood vessels, his brain chemistry, his entire central nervous system, everything was structurally adapted to function with that constant influx of 800 milligrams of caffeine.
That is wild. Okay, so keep that 800 milligrams in your head because we have to introduce the actual chemo side effect now.
Right, the real one.
One of the immediate side effects of Bill's specific therapy is a condition called neuropathy. But for Bill, it manifested in a highly specific, very weird way.
The cold sensitivity.
Exactly. Whenever he tried to swallow a cold drink, he experienced this severe scratching sensation in his throat. It literally hurt to drink cold liquids.
And to understand why that happens, we really have to look at the biological mechanism of cold-induced neuropathy.
Yeah, break that down for us because it sounds awful.
It is. So certain chemotherapy regimens actually damage the peripheral nervous system. Specifically, they alter the ion channels in your nerve endings.
Okay. Ion channels.
Think of them like microscopic gates that send signals to your brain. The chemo drugs can cause these gates to basically get stuck open or misfire wildly.
Oh, man. So the signals just get completely scrambled.
Exactly. So when a cold temperature hits those damaged nerves in the throat, instead of simply registering, hey, this is cold, the nerves scream, this is tissue damage.
Wait, really? So it literally tricks your brain?
It does. Your brain interprets the cold temperature as extreme physical pain, like swallowing glass or severe scratching.
So swallowing cold drinks becomes just an agonizing experience. And diet soda is obviously served cold. And here is the ultimate trap for Bill. He absolutely hates hot caffeinated drinks.
The trap just snaps completely shut.
It really does. Because of the neuropathy, he physically cannot drink his cold diet soda without being in pain. And because he hates coffee and tea, he doesn't replace the caffeine with a hot beverage.
Which leads to the disaster.
Right. On the exact same day he starts aggressive chemotherapy, Bill accidentally goes from 800 milligrams of caffeine a day to absolutely zero. Cold turkey.
And that explains the 7-day headache perfectly.
Right, because of the withdrawal.
Exactly. Caffeine acts as a vasoconstrictor. That means it naturally narrows the blood vessels in your brain.
Okay.
When you consume 800 milligrams a day for decades, your body compensates by pushing harder against those narrowed vessels just to maintain normal blood flow.
So your body just gets used to working overtime.
Yes. And when you drop that caffeine to zero overnight, it leaves your system and those blood vessels suddenly dilate. They widen incredibly rapidly.
So all that blood flow just rushes in, swelling the vessels.
Exactly. That vasodilation puts immense throbbing pressure on the nerves lining your brain. It triggers a severe, blinding migraine.
And that just doesn't go away quickly, does it?
No, it will last until the blood vessels finally recalibrate, which, for a habit that size, can take a week or even more.
Wow. So severe. Acute caffeine withdrawal gave Bill a 7-day killer headache, but he was just perfectly camouflaged as a chemo side effect.
And since he had never tried to conquer his soda habit before, he had zero frame of reference for what caffeine withdrawal actually felt like.
He just thought, well, chemo is awful.
Right. And this points to a massive, massive blind spot in medical care, honestly. The oncology staff is laser focused on the clinical side effects.
Because that's their job.
Sure. They are monitoring the neuropathy and the nausea, but they aren't monitoring his refrigerator.
Right.
The doctor sees the cancer and the drug. They don't see the sudden disappearance of the daily gallon of soda.
They miss the domino effect entirely. The neuropathy forced the diet soda ban, which forced the caffeine withdrawal, which caused the agonizing week-long headache.
But on a medical chart, it just looks like a patient struggling to tolerate chemotherapy.
It's just wild. But eventually, Bill has this massive aha moment. He realizes he's suffering from an accidental detox on top of his cancer treatment.
Which is a lot to deal with at once.
Yeah, and he takes total ownership of the situation. He realizes that fighting a two-front war-battling colon cancer and a decades-old caffeine addiction at the exact same time is just a terrible strategy.
It's an unnecessary drain on a body that needs every single ounce of energy just to heal.
So he finds a really practical workaround. He starts taking a 250 milligram daily caffeine supplement pill.
Just a pill.
Yep, just enough to, as he puts it, keep level. And the results are undeniable. By the time he writes his update, he's a week out from his second therapy session, and he explicitly notes that the symptoms were far more manageable.
Having that baseline caffeine in his system made a huge difference, though he is careful to mention that the real chemo side effects are still very present.
Oh, of course.
The fatigue and the neuropathy, those are cumulative. They get heavier with each session. He didn't cure the chemo.
Right, but he eliminated the fake chemo symptoms that were just making his life unbearable. And what's really cool is he actually leverages this bizarre, painful ordeal into a major lifestyle victory.
He really does.
He decides to use his therapy as the catalyst to kick the diet soda habit for good.
That takes some serious willpower.
It really does. He notes in the post that he has had exactly 1 can of soda in over a month. And to avoid the throat pain, he had to drink it at room temperature.
Oh, yuck. Which probably made it a lot easier not to want another one.
I would imagine.
But seriously, he successfully replaced that entire gallon-a-day soda habit with water. That is a monumental behavioral shift, especially under extreme physical duress.
But the most valuable thing to come out of this whole ordeal is the takeaway he develops for future patients.
I love this part.
Bill writes that whenever he meets someone heading down the chemotherapy path, he's going to ask them one highly specific question. He says, is your caffeine consumption primarily from cold drinks?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that single question represents the immense, irreplaceable value of patient-led knowledge.
Oh, absolutely.
Medical professionals, they map the pharmacology. They understand exactly how the drug interacts with the tumor, but patients
map the lived experience.
Exactly. A doctor will warn you about cold-induced neuropathy all day, but only a fellow patient who has actually walked the terrain will think to ask how that specific neuropathy is going to sabotage your morning caffeine routine.
It is a perfect example of street-level medical wisdom.
It really is.
And for you listening, this is a profound reminder. Whether you are facing a medical crisis yourself or you're supporting a loved one through intense treatment, the questions we forget to ask usually involve the smallest, most invisible daily habits.
We get so overwhelmed by the big, scary clinical terms.
Right. We forget to ask the simple things. Like, wait, how is this drug going to interact with your morning coffee? How is this going to change the way you sleep or the snacks you reach for?
We treat the patient and we completely forget the person.
Oh, that's so well said.
But the person is the one who actually has to endure the day-to-day reality of the treatment.
Which perfectly transitions into the second half of Bill's story. Once he solves his caffeine crisis and gets his physical pain down to a manageable level, his perspective completely opens up.
It's amazing what happens when you aren't in blinding pain.
Right. When you aren't trapped in your own headache, you finally have the mental bandwidth to just look around the room. And what Bill observes completely shatters our cultural assumptions of what a cancer ward actually looks and feels like.
And to appreciate this, we should probably clarify what an infusion center actually is, for those who might not know.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
For a lot of regimens, you don't just take a pill and go home.
Right. An infusion center is where patients go to receive intravenous treatments. You have a port or an IV placed in your vein, and the chemotherapy drugs are slowly dripped into your bloodstream over several hours.
You are literally tethered to a pole by a plastic tube.
Yep. For Bill, this means sitting in a clinical environment for 3.5 to 4 hours every single session.
And culturally, when we hear chemotherapy ward, we picture something really grim.
Very sterile. Very quiet.
We imagine a silent, sterile room, just heavy with despair and quiet suffering.
But Bill paints a vibrant, deeply human picture. He describes a room with comfortable recliners, Wi-Fi, power outlets, and roughly 12 to 15 people he calls his comrades undergoing their own therapies.
It sounds almost like an airport lounge in a weird way.
Kind of. Some people are sleeping, some are working on laptops and iPads like Bill is, and others are just chatting. And then he introduces us to the ultimate infusion center characters.
Oh, I love these two.
He calls them Ned and Nadine. Made-up names, of course. They are an older couple, likely in their late 60s or early 70s. Ned takes the recliner right next to Bill.
And Bill has that classic reaction, doesn't he?
He does. Initially, Bill thinks, oh no, I have work to do. This guy's going to talk my ear off for 4 hours.
Which is such a wonderfully normal reaction. Just because you're tethered to an IV pole doesn't mean you suddenly lose your desire for personal space and productivity.
Exactly. But Ned doesn't want to chat. Ned is this boisterous guy full of one-liners. Some land, some definitely don't. And his wife and the nursing staff are all just patiently humoring him.
He's the class clown of the infusion center.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So Ned settles into his recliner and pulls out a portable DVD player. He puts on his earphones, completely failing to realize he hasn't plugged them into the jack all the way.
Oh, no. The universal technological fumble.
We've all been there. He hits play, and for 20 glorious seconds, this quiet, serious infusion center is treated to a blasting, high-volume scene from the gangster movie The Untouchables.
Oh, my goodness. That is hilarious.
It takes a full 20 seconds for his wife, Nadine, to realize what is broadcasting to the entire room and loudly correct him.
And Ned just thought his earbud volume was a little weak.
Exactly. It is hilarious, but it's also deeply comforting. It's a wildly embarrassing, perfectly mundane human moment happening in a place we usually associate only with tragedy.
And Ned isn't done, is he?
Oh, not at all. Half an hour later, his phone rings. It's his daughter. And Bill knows it's his daughter because Ned loudly announces it to the room.
Naturally.
For the next 5 minutes, Bill says he felt like he was watching a Saturday Night Live skit unfold live.
Yeah.
Ned is shouting into the phone, I can't hear you. And you're breaking up.
Standard dad phone behavior.
Yep. And he mixes in this incredibly dark infusion center humor. He yells to his daughter, I think I get 3 more gallons and then I'm out of here.
3 more gallons. That is quite a visual for intravenous chemotherapy.
It really is.
Yeah.
And the grand finale of the phone call is this bizarre, very stern dietary warning. Ned yells into his phone, don't put jalapenos on your salad this time. You know what that does to you.
Oh, my God.
Right. And Bill notes, with perfect comedic timing, that fortunately, Ned did not elaborate on what the jalapenos actually do to her.
Thank goodness for small favors. But, this raises an important question.
Oh, what's that?
About the psychological function of humor in these highly clinical extreme environments. Humor here isn't just a distraction to pass the time. It is a vital mechanism for survival.
How so?
Think about the physical reality of an infusion center. You are stripped of your autonomy, you're hooked up to machines, your body is doing things you absolutely cannot control. You are reduced, in many ways, to just being the patient in chair 4.
Yeah, you really lose your agency.
Yes. So by bringing in a portable DVD player to watch a gangster movie, by making loud, sarcastic jokes about getting 3 more gallons of chemicals, by asserting fatherly authority over his grown daughter's salad ingredients.
Ned is actively reclaiming his identity.
Exactly. He refuses to just be a passive patient. He is maintaining his role as a husband, a father, and a guy who likes loud movies.
He's proving he is still part of the chaotic, funny, embarrassing stream of normal life.
It's powerful.
It is. And for Bill to be sitting there, dealing with his own cumulative fatigue and the lingering threat of neuropathy, and to find such genuine joy in observing Ned and Nadine, it completely shatters the cliché of the grim hospital ward.
It really proves that people don't stop being complicated, funny people just because they're getting chemo.
It speaks to the incredible resilience of the human mind, doesn't it?
Yeah.
To seek out normalcy and connection, even when tethered to an IV pole.
It absolutely does.
Now, as Bill wraps up this specific dispatch from his journey, he gives a brief look ahead. Thanksgiving has interrupted his treatment schedule, which means he gets an extra week off from the infusion center.
Which is a huge relief, I'm sure.
He is understandably thrilled about it, but he has one very specific, highly motivated goal for that week off.
And it brings the entire story full circle.
It really does. He is hoping that with the extra week off, his cold-induced neuropathy will subside just enough so that he can sit down and eat a piece of cold pumpkin pie loaded with whipped cream.
The very temperature that caused him agonizing pain.
And triggered a massive caffeine withdrawal.
It's now the exact thing he is dreaming about for the holiday.
It's perfect. So what does this all mean? We started this deep dive talking about precision, the idea that a medical diagnosis is a clean, visible line.
But Bill's story shows us the murky, tangled reality of it all.
Yes, it's a reality where a life-saving chemical can accidentally trigger a brutal withdrawal from a diet soda habit. It's a reality where the most practical medical advice comes from the guy in the recliner next to yours.
And where the heavy silence of a cancer ward is broken by the blaring theme song of the Untouchables.
Exactly. To me, Bill hoping for that slice of cold pumpkin pie is a beautiful testament to the resilience of the human spirit. When you're fighting a massive systemic battle, sometimes the greatest victory is just having the capacity to look forward to a small, sweet, everyday joy.
It is a profound victory. And as we leave you today, I want to offer one final thought to mull over, building on Bill's accidental detox.
All right, let's hear it.
I want you to mentally audit your own daily rhythms. If a sudden medical shift stripped away your primary daily comfort habit overnight, whether that's your morning coffee, your daily run, a specific brand of tea or snack you just rely on, how much of your daily mood and your core identity is tied to that one routine?
Oh, wow. That's a tough question.
It is. How would you cope if your main comfort mechanism suddenly became the exact thing causing you physical pain? It's really worth thinking about how much of our perceived well-being is anchored in the mundane habits we rarely even notice.
Until routine breaks, and you have to figure it out for yourself. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Bill Risser's remarkable journey. We will see you next time.